we have royalty. Danny Cowley, the Portsmouth manager, joins me right now ahead of a very big weekend. I guess they're all really, really big weekends. Danny, thank you for joining me on LO72 Live. How are you?
Pleasure, James. Yeah, I'm very well, thank you. Very well. Just come off the training pitch and all good. Just preparing for Saturday's game.
How does let's talk about the training pitch actually, because I've seen the video of you being mic'd up, and you can tell that you love the game, you love coaching these players. How does the sort of lead up to a weekend's game pan out? You said you've just come off the training pitch. What are the sort of timings leading into a weekend fixture? Sorry.
Yeah, I think for us, obviously, we have the Saturday fixtures. So when we have the 3 weeks to prepare, which is what we like. It's lovely to have the whole week to prepare for the opponent. The nature of League One means that a number of the weeks you're playing Saturday and then you're playing midweek and then playing Saturday again. So certainly when that happens, the games come thick and fast and the preparation time is less and less. But we've had good opportunity to prepare for Cambridge United. Obviously, it's a tough game for us. It's a club that we've got a lot of respect for. Mark Bonner's a manager that I've got to know well. Did a fantastic job last year in getting Cambridge United promoted. And whenever you play a newly promoted team in the early part of the season, you always know that they come with a certain level of confidence. So it's a big game for us on Saturday. We've actually, out of our first 8 games, we've only had 2 home games. So we haven't been back to Fratton Park for 32 days and counting. So it'd be great to get back to our home ground and in front of our home support.
Absolutely, because I mean that was my next question: was how are you finding it, the challenge at Portsmouth? Because now it is a huge club with an incredible pedigree. Like there are a lot of big clubs in League One, and also I've been down to Fratton Park. The fans are fantastic. It's a great place to go and watch a game because the atmosphere is so fantastic. You talk about Mark Bonner there and his career so far. He's at the start of it. You've got a couple of more years on the clock. You're maybe in that sort of second stage of your career, and going to a club like Portsmouth, it's a huge challenge. What surprised you about the challenge so far?
Well, yeah, you're right. 15 years now as a manager for myself. About some of that being in the lower leagues. But Portsmouth is a great club, and an unbelievable support base. It's had a really difficult journey in recent times. Obviously, it went going back to maybe 2008 and winning the FA Cup and being a Premier League team, to them finding themselves going into administration and nearly losing the club in 2013. And if it hadn't been for Mark Catlin, and then for the new owners who picked the club up and have then funded the club, Portsmouth may have been no more. So now it's we're on a journey here. Made a lot of changes to personnel in the summer. I think we had 14 players leave plus 4 loans go back, so almost 18 players. We've managed to replace those players. We now have a squad of 22. We have real competition for places across the board, but we're very much a new group. Even to go back to the first game of the season, if I look at us where we were there in terms of the squad and the depth to where we were maybe on Saturday when we played MK Dons, we've now got much more competition for places, which is obviously really positive because it's the competition that drives the standards. We have much more flexibility now within our group, and we're hoping after a good start, where we were able to pick 10 points up in the first 4 games, that we'll be able to build on that, and certainly looking forward to going back to Fratton Park and have two fantastic home games.
You spoke about the sort of reworking of the squad and the players that have come in, and importantly, obviously, the players that have gone out. Why did you think that was so necessary for you going into this season?
Well, I think first and foremost, we come off the back of a pandemic. We had a number of players as a consequence that were coming out of contract. The club didn't feel it was right to commit to those players while we were still unsure of what life would look like post-pandemic, because obviously at the end of the season we still didn't know if supporters would be back in the stadiums, and certainly we didn't anticipate that we were going to be able to have full capacity back into the stadium. So we were a little unsure in April and May for sure. As a consequence, we probably lost some players that we didn't want to lose. That is fair. The League One is incredibly competitive financially this season, and probably 4 or 5 that we wanted to keep, we were unable to, and that meant that the rebuilding process was much bigger than we anticipated. And we've worked really, really hard, and we've been well supported by everybody in the backroom team, and also the board to put this group together.
Yeah. Do you know what I hear a lot? You hear go, squad needs time to gel. The squad needs time to gel. And I totally understand that sentence. It makes sense to me. And I'm not expecting you to give me a sort of a specific date. But generally, as a coach, as a manager, when you know there's going to be an influx of changes, what are you hoping for in terms of like how long it would take for a group of players to understand your style of playing and to gel as people often want?
Well, I think in football, us managers always want time. It's something that unfortunately you don't tend to get in football. Hence the reason that we all ask for it, because I wish I had a magic wand. If I did, I would definitely use it, because my life's much better when we're winning. And our supporters here are just brilliant, so deserve a winning team. And I can feel how desperate they are to believe in the team, and we've nearly got them, but we've got to do a little bit more in order to really gain their trust and their belief, which is part of the process, I suppose. Yeah, I definitely think that good coaching can accelerate the process. We definitely made more changes than we anticipated or would have liked to have made. There's no hiding place from that. I think when you're making the amount of change that we did, you're then trying to have to put a group together without really having a spine. And I think it's much easier if you've got that spine, because then you can build on what's already in the building. That wasn't the situation here. So it was very much a blank sheet. And we've had to work really hard to put the group together. And yeah, it will take time. We are definitely in a process, but the aim is to try to accelerate that process. We've been lucky enough to be able to sign players that suit the game idea and the way that we want to try to play the game. And now it's about us constantly working on the training pitch to try to develop the players' understanding of that game idea, to keep rehearsing so that we can keep building the relationships and the partnerships, which are so pivotal in a successful team.
Yeah, and a lovely blend as well. There's a lot of players here that I think are quite exciting. Tunnicliffe coming in, Sean Williams, a little bit older, but what a cracking player to have in your side. Bazunu coming through. You got Miguel Aziz as well. I know a few people were excited about him as well, and so it's kind of fitting it all together and getting it right, especially in a division that is littered with huge clubs that are all hoping for promotion. It's going to make life really difficult. I did want to ask you about that word process that you spoke about there, because I looked at, I watched your post-match interview after the MK Dons game, which unfortunately for yourselves obviously lost that one. What I found really, really interesting is that you spoke about the team being a little bit emotional after conceding. You also spoke about committing to the process. I was just wondering, how do you kind of find that balance between kind of sort of the desire to kind of want to go for it and commit to something, and then not getting over emotional when you've conceded a goal like you did last week?
Well, I think for us, we want to try to commit to the game idea and the way that we want to play. Probably just first half, we didn't think that we played with the intensity against the ball that we would have liked. We wanted to press a little bit higher up the pitch, which I think we come out and we did second half. And in the second half, we got the game on our terms, and that's what we always want to try to do. And I think once we got the game on our terms in the second half, we had a period in the game where we created chance after chance, and unfortunately we weren't able to take them. And then we off the back of having a corner, we just got caught on the counter attack, which was a disappointing goal for us because we work hard on our defensive transition. But then, yeah, we were just a little bit disappointed once we conceded that goal. I think it was the 72nd minute, and we'd had such control of that second half up to then, and it just knocked us off of our rhythm. And maybe then we just started to force our play, where we needed just to get back on our method, and play to our game idea, because that's certainly when we play at our best.
Yeah. In terms of expectations for the season moving forward, and having a look, at this Cambridge game, which, a newly promoted team, I think some people will maybe thinking they might struggle this season, but they've done they've done pretty okay actually so far. Hard to break down at times, but then in other games, kind of taking a heavy defeat against Lincoln recently as well. So it's very difficult to kind of figure out where you are in this league. I was wondering, in terms of your expectations for the season, how do you break them down? Because is it a bit too obvious to just go, we want to get promoted? Do you need to kind of break it down into smaller groups of matches? Is that something that you and the players do?
Well, I think in the opening set of games, you've seen how tight the division is. It's an incredibly competitive division, definitely the most competitive that I've seen League One. You've only got to look at the size of some of the clubs. I think it's probably the first time since Portsmouth have been in League One where we're not seen as the favourites to get promoted, and that's probably due to the size of some of the other clubs in the division, and certainly the spending power of some of the other clubs in this division. I think for us, we try to stay very focused on the process, and it's as a consequence of getting the process right, the outcomes take care of themselves. We certainly know what our supporters want, and we know that they've had a really tough time in recent years, and our ambition is just to try to create a team that they can really be proud of, that they can connect with, and they can associate with, and we're working towards that. We know that the people of Portsmouth have got an incredible grit and determination about them, and as a consequence, they're the type of qualities that they like to see in their team, and that's what we're working to become. And as I say, I think if we can get that process right, then ultimately the outcomes will then take care of themselves.
Okay. So thank you so much, Danny, for sparing some time. And I know it was a busy kind of 48 hours before the game kicks off. I did have one final question, which I put out a tweet saying, I've got any questions for Danny. There was a fella called Ronnie. He said, was Nicky born with the iPad in his hands? That was the one question. That was the one question that did make me laugh. Was he? You'll be able to give us his answer and this insight. Was he born with the iPad in his hands?
Well, Nicky's 40, I think, this year, and I'm not sure iPads were around in the early 1980s. I think it was more Amstrad and Spectrums, as I can remember. Yeah, but no. So we do try to use technology. Absolutely. We have a lot of our game ideas, our restarts, some work in open play, some go-to plans. If our plan A is not working, different options that we could use from the substitute bench, all on that iPad. So yeah, often in game we go to it just to aid and help us with our planning. And I think always when you're preparing for matches, the idea is to work out all of the potential eventualities and all the things that could happen, and make sure that you've got a plan for all of those, so that in game, when the game does heat up and the intensity rises and you don't have too much time, you have all of these go-to plans available at your disposal to hopefully then be able to quicken up your decision making and put yourself in a position to select the right decision at the right moment.
Right, Danny. Well, I'll let you go and I think it's probably a good little reminder there that go get that plugged in, because if that's got everything on it, that needs to be charged, ready for the game. So I'll let you go away and make sure that is sorted out. Thank you so much for spending a bit of time with me, Danny, on League 72 Live, and best of luck with the weekend. Thanks for watching, guys. Don't forget, every single Thursday, 4 p.m, I will be live on the League of 72 channel talking about all things EFL, looking at all 72 clubs. So if you want to join us for the exclusive access and, of course, watching some of your favourite goals from your team, make sure you subscribe and hit the notification bell.